Welcome to This Week on 33rd Street. I'm sports editor Stephen Tidings, alongside fellow sports editor Ian Wennick and the senior sports editor Mike Toney. So before we address the upcoming homecoming football game against Princeton, let's take a look back at what we might call a debacle against Brown. Mike, you attended the game. What was that like for the red and blue?
Let's just call it a debacle, Stephen. I think John Spooning is still running somewhere in Rhode Island right now. It was an awful, awful experience for Penn football. They got dominated on both lines of the scrimmage. 93, 94-yard touchdown runs for Spooning. Ryan Becker looked dazed all afternoon long. It's not a good sign when you have a football team that gets utterly dominated on both sides of the ball down the stretch like that. It's not a good sign when you have a team like Princeton coming up who dominates you the same way Brown dominated Penn.
Yeah, and you have that, and then you go into Princeton. And Princeton, it's not like they've been playing badly. They're actually in first place in the Ivy League, and they just had an unbelievable record-breaking performance from Quinn Epperly last week at quarterback. What can you say about how the Quakers match up with the Tigers this week?
Well, first I'd like to call out Mike for stealing my joke about John Spooning. Next, Princeton came to Penn 2 years ago for homecoming 2011. I was at that game, and they got utterly obliterated, 37-9. It was one of the most complete games the Penn's had under Al Bagnoli. This Princeton team is a complete 180 from that, and Epperly is just part of that. It's not only Epperly, it's Roman Wilson, who's become Epperly's favorite target. It's been the defensive line led by Karan Reed, who is probably going to be drafted in the NFL. Reed, 6'2", 302, needs a double or triple team on almost every play. He is a force with the middle that can tear apart Penn's blocking schemes and really disrupt that power running game that Penn likes to establish. And if Penn can get that power running game going, they're not going to have any chance to win against Princeton on Saturday.
So, what's the prediction for the big game? Do you got the Tigers? You got the Quakers? What's up?
Well, the big thing for Penn fans to be optimistic about is that I talked to Coach Bagnoli at practice on Tuesday. He said Billy Ragone has been practicing, and it'll be a late week decision, potentially even game time, although that's me drawing my own conclusions from there. If Ragone plays, and with the way that he's been, and the way that Al Bagnoli's had his team respond with his backs up against the wall, when it matters most in the past, I have to say that I think Penn will find a way to win this one to keep itself alive, 24-17.
Mike, what's your prediction?
If Ian picked Penn, I'm definitely going to pick Princeton. I think it's going to be a case of dominating the line of scrimmage just as Brown did. This Tigers team got Quinn Epperly completing 29 straight passes last week, NCAA record. This team is on fire right now, and I think the difference between last year when Harvard was on fire and got extinguished at Franklin Field and this year is that Princeton has been tested. They've had those tough games and they've won them time after time after time. Against Brown, 17-0 deficit. Against Harvard, 13-0 deficit. Princeton comes back in these games, and I think the Tigers are going to have it.
All right. I'm going to also pick the Tigers. I've been picking them basically all year long. I'm going to say it's going to be a little bit of a blowout. I'm going to go 35-17 Princeton. That's it for This Week on 33rd Street. Thank you, Ian. Also, Mike was with us. I'm Stephen Tidings for DP Sports. Sayonara.